Is YouTube really worth the hustle? If you're one of the people who are wondering whether it really is, your answer is coming up in a few minutes. Good morning, family. As you can tell, this morning we are spending time again in Karating. Lovely, lovely, beautiful morning. It must have rained the previous night. That's why you see some wetness down here. But we are welcoming a very unique guest. We are welcoming the legendary NGUGI. And for those of you who missed a full interview that came out maybe about a week or so ago from her channel, I've posted the link down in the description section. Please check it out. In this video, you'll not hear any of the discussion we had. You really have to go to our channel to watch the whole interview if you missed it. And if you're one of the 2 people that have not subscribed to her channel, make sure you do that. I'm going to post a link to her channel as well. She has a massive channel, and this young woman is doing a phenomenal job. So I strongly recommend you check her out. You will not regret. But I'm assuming everybody that is watching me has watched her, so I'm not worried about that. But if you're one of the 2 people who have not seen it, check it out. Now, this woman truly is a gem. Her charisma, her intellect, humility, passion, and the skills that she have, especially when it comes to interviewing. Initially, I thought this is what she did professionally. She's just incredibly talented. It's what I call the real deal. So what you actually see on TV is exactly what you get when you meet her in person. And you can tell even from the folks that work with her, the entire team, that they really respect her. And so to me and to my family, it was such a great honor hosting her in Karating. And for those who are watching us for the first time, Karating is a beautiful village in the middle of Kisumu, which is a county and a town in western Kenya. So welcome back to our channel. So in this video, I'm just going to talk with you about my experience with YouTube. And this is specifically in response to questions about what this is all about. So if you're just curious about what we're going on, whether this is working out, or if you're thinking about doing the same thing again, maybe I might say a thing or two that might be useful, because I've talked to some of my fans who are actually thinking about setting up YouTube channels and things like that. So of course, I'm by no means an expert. So I'm simply going to talk about my own experience with navigating YouTube and what's happened since. Anyhow, many of my viewers actually don't realize that my channel is actually about 15 years old. I've had this channel probably since President Bush Jr. was in power. And up until a few weeks ago, we only had about 300 subscribers. And thanks to the many incredible people, especially my family, my sisters, my brother, and the folks close to me, lots of other folks who knew about it, who have been sharing, asking folks to subscribe, we're now hovering around 10,000 subs in just a few weeks. So this is a drastic change from what I've had for the last 15 years or so. And over the last couple of weeks, I've really engaged lots of folks. I've talked to people from almost every single continent, maybe except for Antarctica. I've talked to folks from every part of the world. And I'm really grateful for folks who have subscribed, those who continue to view. I'm really grateful for that. So when I opened this channel, all I wanted was simply a place to upload videos, because I've always shot videos all the time. Even before YouTube, I had some little camera. I've always been taking pictures and taking videos. And so initially for me, YouTube was just a place where I could just store my videos and then clean up my phone. Nothing more. And that's indeed what I've done for the last 15 years or so. So it's really helped so that when my phone fails, I have a place that I can put things, and hopefully I can find them years later. And I've really appreciated that, because there are many people that I've lost in my life who are recorded that are permanently going to be somewhere I can find easily. So that is what I've done for the last many years, for the most part. Now, more recently, however, for those who've known me for a while, I have been doing a lot more commentaries in my video, just like I'm doing now. And for the most part, I talk about things that affect people in diaspora, Kenyans who have moved abroad and are coming back, people who are doing construction, especially construction in the village, and topics around that. So my issues revolve around that, most of it based on feedback from my viewers. A lot of it are just things that I experience and I feel like sharing. And the response in the last, I would say, 2 months has been just incredible. I'm just floored by how much some of the things that I take very lightly have meant a lot to many people. When I read people's comments and folks talk about having similar experiences or learning something from what I say, I'm very pleased to see that. So it seems like quite a few people are interested in some of the conversations I've had. But in general, though, oftentimes with social media, you almost always never know who's watching, who's listening, how what you say will be received, the impact of what you're doing, and most importantly, how what you're doing is going to affect the people in your circles. Because when you're putting yourself out there, it comes with all kinds of challenges and good things too. And so the impact on the people around me was something that really blindsided me, something that I'm still really navigating. And so, as I've said earlier, much of what I talk about really comes from people's lived experiences. A lot of the times I talk about my own lived experiences, having moved from a small village in Karateng through Kanyawanga, which is where I went to high school, to Maseno University, which is where I did my first degree, all the way through different states in America. And now I'm making my way back to Karateng. So I talk about my personal experiences, other experiences of people that I know, and a good bit of it is stuff that I read, because sometimes issues pop up and I realize I know very little. And of course, as an educator, that's when it's time to go look up information and read a little bit. So putting this together usually takes a lot more than you may realize as a viewer. So like I said, when I opened my channel 15 years ago, I never had to consider any of these things I'm talking about. For me, it was just open a random channel, drop videos there, raw and uncut, no commentaries. And so all these are the new things and the nuances around social media and YouTube and all that, I'm just learning the hard way. And so when I meet YouTubers like LYNN and the rest, I do a lot of listening, because from them I learn things that I don't have to navigate the hard way, given all the mistakes that I've made. And so for me, this YouTube space was never about money. In fact, if it really was, I would have quit a long time ago. And I say that because in my line of work or where I live, there are a few things that I could do that would pay me way more than YouTube. And so the amount of time that I put in this work really, for the monetary value, does not make it worth it. But I know lots of people depend on this for a living, and that's fine. So thankfully for me, I don't depend on YouTube for a living. I have a regular job. I'm a regular person, and so YouTube is just one of those things that I engage for reasons other than that. So I'll break that down. So if you were to ask me 15 years later, is YouTube been worth it? My answer would be yes for now. And to illustrate or to explain, I'm going to break that down into about 4 different areas. The first reason why I would say the YouTube space has been really worth it for me is the amount and the extent of connections that I've made with folks all over the world. As you've seen in some of my videos, I don't do a lot of collabos, and I've done a few, especially you've seen people like Jail of the Village, people like 60 Plus, people like LYNN and all that. And besides what you see in front of the camera, these individuals are just amazing, amazing women, amazing humans that you just connect with as friends. And so when you put the camera down, all the connections and the relationships that have developed are things that there's no way I would have had that were it not for the YouTube space. And besides content creators, I've gotten to meet lots of folks. And surprisingly enough, many of the folks that I engage with are people who actually live in my neighborhood in Long Beach or in Southern California. Folks that have lived around me for a while, but only knew about me through the YouTube space. And so some of them actually come and comment, and we chat all the times. Others email me, we chat offline. And these are connections that I have really valued. And so, besides the people that I chat with online and over the phone, I've also gotten to visit a lot of folks, especially people who are doing projects back at home, whether these are returnees or diasporans who are in Kenya just for a little while. Some folks send me go check out stuff when I'm home, or they let me know they're in town and we catch up, and the connections are just amazing, and I'm really grateful for that. But more uniquely, though, the online community, which is mostly made up of folks that we chat with in the comment section, sometimes I almost feel like I know these people, because there are folks who respond to my videos almost every single time. I may not want to mention their names, but if you read the comments, you'll see very similar names. I'm especially thrilled about the folks in northern Uganda who apparently speak another version of my native tongue. And we call each other cousins. And sometimes, the names I can't see, but I even imagine what they look like. I feel like I've got this online family that obviously there's no way I would have had that were it not for this YouTube space. And so whenever I get burnt out, and burnout really is real here, whenever I feel burnt out and I want to quit, it just feels like I'm quitting on people who have really trusted me with their time. And so that's one of the things that keep me going, even when the days are longer. So the online community is another family that I really enjoy. And thank you guys for doing what you do. And that brings me to the second reason as to why I say YouTube has been worth it. That in many cases, it really, really uplifts my spirit. And as many of you have figured out, for me, when it comes to online space, I talk about my reality as is. When things are working, I share that. And when things are falling apart, I talk about it. Because in part, it's really hard to sustain some make-believe world that is not real. Now, maybe that's what worked for some people. But for me, with the online space, when I talk about my life as is, I show you exactly the day-to-day thing. I don't feel like I have to create something outside my reality. And that's really made it easy. And so when things don't work, I get encouraged by some of the comments I see. It really uplifts my spirit. Because for the most part, people are really kind. Other people may have a different experience, but mine has been that 99% of the time, people who engage with me online are exceptionally kind and are very supportive. Many of them are very much willing to share their experiences online. And I rarely get trolls or people who say negative stuff. And for me, I've just adopted the policy that one random person who just decides to post some mean comment, my policy is you only do it once and you're out. I don't engage with that. My channel is all about positivity in that sense. And so I really enjoy the kind spirit that my viewers have been able to display online. Now, besides that, of course, this YouTube space has created some really cool platform for me to share what I know. If you know me personally, you already know that I'm an educator. And educators absolutely love sharing stuff. In fact, I think we are one of the few professions where we get excited when other people do well. And I'll share with you an example. I talk with many folks, and sometimes people ask me questions about moving back or construction and things like that, and I offer advice. In some cases, we sustain those conversations. In other cases, I offer advice and then we move on. So like this recent case, a young woman that I talked to probably almost 2 years ago, we discussed some construction things and I gave some advice, and then she moved on. Then she recently came back and just thanked me about how things have worked and how it is done. She's already back in her home, and I'm looking forward to visiting her to just go celebrate that achievement. And so I get so much joy when I see other people do well. And that's why I always say that I'm always also looking forward to sharing my experience. That way, you who is listening does not have to make the same mistakes that I've made. And so that's just what we do as educators. But in doing so as well, I've also learned so much, so much from people, because sometimes I say one thing from my limited experience, and then a person who is more knowledgeable, and usually my viewers are way more knowledgeable than I am, will share a different example that really changes my mind. For example, I talked about a biodigester, and I gave a general recommendation that a biodigester really is the best thing of all the options. And then one viewer actually came in and explained that, well, a biodigester works, yes, but sometimes depending on the type of soil that one has, a biodigester may be a very bad idea. And something I never had to think about. That yes, in Karating, given our soil, a biodigester is cool and all that, but in certain places, a biodigester may not be a good option. And so I've learned so much about construction. Of course, this is not what I went to school for. I've had to learn construction through just winging it and trial and error and all that stuff. And so in this process, I'm meeting people who actually went to school to do construction. I'm meeting people who are fundi themselves. And I get educated a lot. And when I learn that, the next thing I do is to turn around and make that information available. Something I really love. And of course, when it comes to kids, I still have very young kids. As an educator, I've worked with folks in all kinds of age groups. But as a parent, I've only been a parent for a few years. Many of my viewers have raised kids much older than my kids. And so some folks actually come into my inbox, like one friend that I feel like I know. I've not seen her. I just read her name. We email back and forth. Even sent me a video when I was struggling with the issue of hair. Because I'm a man. Things to do with hair is something that I know very little about. And I'm trying to figure out how I can fix my daughter's hair, especially times when my wife is not around. And this friend who lives in the UK really was very helpful in that regard. So I'm learning so much about kids, so much about construction, so much about traveling with kids, and many other topics that usually would be relevant for people within my age group. So in general, I would say that yes, YouTube has been really worth it as far as those 4 key points. However, no good thing comes without challenges. And for me, the biggest challenge has been time. As I said, I have a regular job. I still have to work. I've got young kids. I've got a young family. And so time has been a tough thing for me because it takes quite a bit of time to shoot, process, and make available videos and even engage fans out there. Because for me, this is more about a community. I don't want to be in a space where I just post videos and move on. That engagement piece is just as important. So the time it takes to shoot videos, process, and engage folks is quite intense. And so that's one thing I'm still struggling with. And then, of course, just navigating some of the issues like privacy or dealing with just mean people out there. That's still new. So if you're to ask me for advice, this is one of the first things that I'll say. I don't think I have any good advice so far. I'm still very new at this, and I'd like to learn from those of you who know more. But at the moment, I'm just having fun, and I hope I can keep it up for however long it takes. So those of you who are curious, I hope I answered your question, but if I didn't, let's go to the chat space and learn from there. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have not subscribed, check again and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.